Welcome everybody here, Brady from BDWX, and we're back to break down the snow. Simple as that. Not sure what the future looks like at the moment, but for now, we break down the snow and we go from there. Appreciate you all, and without further ado, we'll get started here in a second as people start to filter in. Alright, pull up chat here. Get going here in a second. Thanks, Wiki. And we'll get going here in a second. Okay. All right. Got that there. Got our X chat up as well. And yep, Kevin, how we doing, Bermani? Okay, let's get started here. I want to go to bed early. So yeah. As you can see, this is current radar. As it's very, very visible, you can already start to see some of the tea leaves being set up that we pointed out on satellite as well. We'll get our pen tool here. We'll kill our battery, but luckily not a long stream, so doing all right, Mike. It's gonna snow, so that always makes things all right. A pretty wild map, but I like it. I honestly don't think it's as wild as many people think, and I'll kind of explain that context in a second. I think it got misinterpreted a little bit, but we'll break that down a little bit. But on radar or on satellite here, you can kind of see what is developing here. We start again, this influx of moisture here from the Pacific really helped pack a punch here for this clipper system across these areas of Illinois, Indiana, and now we can start to see the amplification get going. If we weren't seeing it happen at this point, uh, then that'd be a concern for this system. But we are. We're starting to see the tea leaves kind of get set here. We're also seeing here a little bit of linkage too go on. You can see a little bit of pop in here, and you can also start to see the subtropical moisture here from the Gulf here, from the subtropical jet here that gotten so flattened out. You can start to see this start to get pulled into the flow ever so slightly. You can see the linkage. If we did this about 6 to 12 hours earlier, we would be probably talking about a pretty significant snowstorm at this point, like notably more than what we would be talking about right now. We did not, so therefore we're kind of stuck in the beginning, infant stages of cyclogenesis here, very infant stages, and it's basically more of the front that leads to our our snowstorm. So that's kind of what I'm looking at here. Next thing I'm also looking at is we go to upper level. Start to see our upper level jet take place here. Where exactly does our jet core move towards? If we see this move more towards here, that will really shun it to just the coast, the precip shield, and the duration of totals as well. Further north and west, like we're starting to see more in guidance now, extends period of precip time for these areas, and heavier rates for longer. So keep that in mind. But pretty cool to watch the amplification start to take place here. As simple as really too is if the storm moved out a lot sooner. I mean, there's a lot of things you could point out, but Atlantic ridging, we would be looking at a pretty fun setup right now. Not that it isn't going to be. I mean, decent. I mean, you got to take what you can get here, I-95, right? I mean, it's fine. It's nothing to write home about. It's a snow event. We track it. And it is what it is. But it's I don't mean this disrespectfully at all to you, but those are the kind of comments that make me just get less and less interested with some of this stuff that I'm doing now. Again, please don't take that personally. I promise. It's just that's some of the stuff that gets me less interested in tracking some of this stuff. But I digress. So move on here. Again, take a look at radar. Start to see it feeling. Oh, what I was going to show is some of the tea leaves starting to get moved in here. But just to be clear, I-95 is where the most people live, so that's why it gets talked about more than a more amplified system somewhere else. So I think that's kind of self-explanatory here, and no one is doubting that this is a progressive flow. I don't think that's up for debate here on why and what's being advertised. So yeah, but notice you start to see these little pops here in convection. You see them. It's kind of leading the tea leaves again for where that precip is going to fill in here eventually pretty soon. So that is, I mean, we're already starting to see it some, but really overnight tonight into the morning, expect that area to kind of be filling in here with this system. It's impressive for Jay Peak right there, my man, Jay, or Zach. Sorry. But again, so close, right? So close to be able to pull this in. Just not quite messed up the timing. Kind of fun to think about. In your opinion, that would be true if we weren't saturated. The thing is, we're going to be saturated though, with the system. So that's if we weren't so saturated, then I would say yes. But we're going to be very well saturated is the thing. So that is and it's been why there's not even a flinch. It's been for days now, regardless of any specific model run. It's going to be very well saturated. So you're not going to need almost any lift. You're not going to need almost any lift, and ratios are going to be fantastic. And we're going to talk about that. Why? South Jersey, Philly, looking good. So here's my snowfall map. This is not explicitly forecasting 6 to 10 or 6 to 9. This is me saying I think these are the two best areas for higher totals. Watch out for the potential for these totals in this area. I know it's not I try to pick a color scheme that wouldn't dominate so much, but at the same time highlight it. But the idea here is eventually this moves through coastal enhancement after frontogenesis. Heaviest bands remain here. They remain, but there's enough coastal enhancement and such duration after the system has moved through we're gonna have such high ratios. The reason why it's so far inland as well, you may ask, why? Again, ratios. So that is kind of why. And again, it's not necessarily explicitly forecasting, hey, I think this whole area here is going to see 6 to 10. Hey, I think this whole area here is going to see 6 to 9. It's not what I'm saying with this map. I'm sure it will get interpreted as that because they see the colors, the numbers drawn there. But there's a reason that the scale says higher totals possible in this. And call it a caveat, whatever. When I make these maps, it's me trying to forecast what's going to happen for all the areas, not just make all the colors look pretty and the numbers fit, on the graph. So, I mean, listen, you can think, whatever you want necessarily about the system, but I just provide mine. I just want to track the system, to be honest. That's it. Because this could be terribly wrong. This could end up being so bad. It could be. I could see very easily how, but you got to go with a gut based on past events that have happened, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I noticed that the consistent potential here for as the upper level low forms here. What you have is what you have here is the potential for around here for for low level winds to kind of form off the ocean. Surface temps are still marginal. Did I take? Yeah, I took that into account. Yeah, surface temps do not find ratios. It's one of the biggest misconceptions ever that surface temps define ratios. They don't. They don't. It's a very shallow layer of surface temps. you gotta look at the column, and I'll show. I might as well just show the column now to explain my thoughts. Why? See if it crashes it, but actually no, we can just go here. Let's find an inland spot here to show. Worcester. Or they don't really have. They're all like confined to like one spot almost. And here's a. We'll just use the euro here. Notice, right? You get some virga here over the next few hours probably. So you get flakes, but nothing all that accumulative. And then now is where about you start to see that accumulating snow start to happen here as we get into these early, really around midnight, early tonight. Um, and that plays a factor. Um, I know, but surface temps dictate melting on contact. Yeah, but if you're listen, I've seen it before. I've seen it before. It's if you can be 30 31 degrees and still have fantastic ratios, and I'm going to explain why here, because this little comeback, and even here you're actually not even close to that, but and especially the interior places, they're also going to be in the 20s, if not towards the end of the event, maybe the high teens, low 20s, depending on how long the snow does last, and that's a real thing in the upside. So that does play a factor as well. Again, that's fine. Listen, you can keep explaining. I'm not changing the map. I made the map already, so it's like I get it. You have your thoughts, but I'm not changing it. It's what it is. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and you'll be. I'm sure the first to let me know about it. But again, don't take that disrespectful. But it's just I. It's just a map. It's just my thoughts. Snowfall. I provide them, and it's not forecasting. Again, I'm not forecasting whole area 6 to 10. You got to do a math game when it comes to this. The amount of hours you're going to see certain snowfall, it doesn't account for that, because this, for example, these are extremely high ratios right here. Just a little bit of lift in a large dendritic growth zone. So when you have a dendritic growth zone this large, you see, no, don't crap on him though. Please don't. We don't want to. We don't support that at all. Please don't. We don't need that. We don't need that at all. We're not one to incite that. Um, but as you can see here, notice very large dendritic growth zone. So the larger dendritic growth zone. So what happens here at the top of the dendritic growth zone is somewhere usually between -18, -20, even sometimes above -20. Is That's the beginning of where your snowflake crystal starts to happens. It's your snowfall production zone. It's the top, and then as that snowflake moves through the column, if you're well saturated, which we are, the more time it has to go through the column, the more time it has to continue to build that snowflake and continue to build into dendrites. You have such a large dendritic growth zone here, a deep dendritic growth zone as we call it. And so the longer you have here for the snowflake to build up, the more time it allows for higher ratios, because you're seeing that snowflake build up. And that's the key here. It's a very deep dendritic growth zone, and it's well saturated consistently throughout the event. And you do not need to be saturated. Take a look as we go later in the event as well. This is the same thing, right? A little bit here at the surface, you can fall more apart, but you see the idea is throughout here, you're very well saturated throughout most of the dendritic growth zone, and that's probably a little bit less favorable. But notice how low now in the dendritic growth zone the system is. or in this system, how low the dendritic growth zone is now. Very, very low. Slide back like one more. So yeah, so you can kind of get the idea here. So we'll see that point, and then you start to dry up, and that no longer, becomes all that notable. But I kind of guess the idea. Then you start doing a math game here. Right? It really just becomes a little bit of math game. So you say about 1, 2, this is an interior spot. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I mean, that's somewhere between, at a minimum, 13, 14, potentially up to 16 to 17 hours of just light snow. So let's say your average snowfall rate is, let's say, over that time frame is 0.2 over 16 hours. Where does that get you? That's a bad 3, but gets you to 3.2 inches of snow. That's nothing, right? There's nothing. There's nothing in that, in that area. You can listen. You can keep disagreeing with my forecast, man, but it's just my opinion. It's just like you're not gonna make me change my thoughts that I built up here for days and days. You're just not. I get it. You disagree, but it's fine. And also, I think you're reading it as I'm forecasting 6 to 10 when you saw the map. All right, well then it's over. Then there's no point in me making the map. And listen, you can take the victory lap after if that's really all that matters to you. But I'm just telling you, I just made a map. I made plenty of them before. I made plenty successful. I've made plenty unsuccessful. And we'll see what the outcome is. But yeah, this is just more and more the reason I am ready to leave this platform. I don't know for how long, but we'll find out once we get there. Yeah, please blame me, Duran. I'll happily take it. What caused the 850 to 700 front of Genesis zone to become more robust and tilt northwest in the last 24 hours of guidance? Well, if you take a look at the jet core, again, this was an interior place, so we can take, I want to take a sounding. We'll go back after. But we'll show a GFS, right? Because that model came notably back to a lot of other guidance. 50. So you notice our system here, and this is our current jet core. And notice as that starts to amplify, you always tend to look in that right entrance region. So there's your there's close to your jet core there. So then you tend to look right in that right entrance region here is where you tend to look in the jet core. And so if you notice what we've been doing over the past, and again, a lot of the best lift gets focused to the further south areas. But again, the precip shield will be expansive enough with the jet core that present, notably, despite the pressing of cold Arctic temperatures, which actually might even more enhance lift than we think. And again, what's creating this is such a temperature contrast where we had to start already. Super cold temperatures coming in from the northwest, cold air advection, and then you have notably not notably, just warmer temperatures colliding here from the south. I don't think we went from a minor to a minor. I mean, like, if you remember the last stream, guys, I said be on the lookout for this thing to be more than you think. I mean, we were talking about a widespread 2 to 5 is what I think what we left off on the stream, and look for some 4 to 8 potential. So we kind of, we kind of highlighted. It's not like, listen, maybe other people weren't, but I was trying to keep you guys the best I could. That listen, this is not a major snowstorm, but this also could, surprise a little bit of people. But notice there's OZ, 06, 12, and 18. O6, OZ, 06, 012, 12, and 18. You see it continue to lift up on the GFS, and what that does is it pushes the precip back, it makes it heavier precip and for longer. And you'll see that on the P-type maps if we show it here. When did I ever say this was going to be a major storm? And I never did. I don't know if you're implying I was saying that, but just losing my will here. Losing my will. It's been a slow build, and let me just say too, it is not on X. It's not trolls. It's not people in my replies. It hasn't been that. I mean, there's always that. Oh, okay. You were responding to a question in the chat. I wasn't. I was just. I only get the chat out of context sometimes, so sorry for that. But the reason I posted what I'm doing on X is because, and why I'm reevaluating, is because I sit my feed now of what I get for information, why I came on for the reasons I did in the beginning, is not the same now. It's not the analysis level too. It's not great on X. It's a lot of people posting long range models, breaking down. Like, there's just not a lot of decent analysis left, and that's really part of why I fell in love with it, especially in terms of accuracy. I get forecasting the weather is difficult, but there's just a lot of people that are far away from the final result a lot of time, and it's not disrespect to them, but it's just that's a part of the reason why I liked the platform. I'm not sure how much that has changed, and it's just my perspective, but that's just the way I see it, and that I actually don't get as much now on X as well. I don't get as much, I do not get as much, feedback, or not feedback, but I don't get as much analysis there anymore. It's like random posts. Even the following is hard to. I try to be respectful and follow so many people, but just what gets filtered in. And then I see the replies of how people talk to each other on this, and I just can't stand it. I can't take it. It is, and it's not just who I follow though. Is the thing. I big time quality controlled after the first couple years on that platform. And there's no matter how many people I can mute or block, the mute works just as well as the block now, so I don't tend to block if I don't have to, but the mute just doesn't, it just does not do enough. It does not do enough. So I don't love logging on to that to that spew of what of what's gone on X now. I guess it's called X for a reason, not Twitter anymore. So that's why I'm kind of debating whether or not it's even necessary for me to keep going on there. It might be just some posts. We'll see. Not really view much of the replies. Don't really scroll the timeline or my following at all, really, anymore. We'll see how that turns out. I would expect some sort of hiatus at a minimum next week. Um, but I really can't. I can't with it anymore. It's been a slow buildup, and if it's the end of the era, so be it. Maybe they're just streams on YouTube that we keep going, or maybe they still go out to X. I guess I don't know. I probably won't limit those. The streams may, I guess, could in theory still go on, but I, I'm blatantly mentally I just can't with the platform anymore. I'm I mean, I think you can hear it in my voice. It's just drained. It's drained me completely trying to use it. So I'm not very fond of trying to use that platform anymore. So that's kind of my thoughts uh, on why I think what I think. Uh, please don't leave us too valuable. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Well, yeah. Well, that's why. Even though, listen, admittedly, I wish you would get a little bit less harpy on trying to disagree with my forecast, but I don't have a problem with it at all. I don't have a problem with it at all. I want disagreement because I want to explain my thoughts. So that's why when I saw someone trying to try to incite a little bit, I was like, no, please don't turn. There's no reason to turn on someone for disagreeing with my forecast because that's the beauty of a forecast is hasn't happened yet. So and again, let me just explain my snow map. This is not forecasting widespread 6 to 10. This is not forecasting widespread 6 to 9. This says locally for a reason. I think there's going to be, you'll lose a half inch. I appreciate that. Thank you. Winner WX. Again, this is not a widespread. I know. I know some will see this. Whoa, he's going all in, and it's like, hold up, hold up. The real only part going all in is the extent to the interior with how far I'm going. What I really wanted to do, and I didn't have the balls to, but what I really wanted to forecast was 2.5 to 6. I know that would have been crazy, but that's kind of what I wanted to do originally, just because I think some people will not verify, but there will be enough within here that would not make it look like. So I was debating whether or not to go this a 2 to 5. I could have just played it more conservative and gone a 2 to 5. But I decided, you know what? I really do think it's going to be such minimal lift, but when you have such a deep dendritic growth zone, it allows opportunities to allow that snowflake, that aggregate, to accumulate more and more throughout the column. So imagine, right, you have that snowflake that starts here at the top of the dendritic growth zone, and then it continues to build as it gets lower. So if, let's say, it stops here, let's assume same saturation, same lift, it is not going to be able to build as much, let's say, as a snowflake. Let's say that went down to here now. You see all that more space? And the aggregate now has more time to accumulate itself and potentially produce a better ratio of snow in theory. So that's the reason. That's the reason. Because I'm telling you, ratios, albeit the minor lift, very cold throughout the column. It's where it's happening too. I mean, the dendritic growth might be from like 550, almost 850 in some of these interior places here. And then here, massive wild card too. Massive wild card. and that really extends down to here. I think here is a lock for ocean enhancement. I think these places here are locks, and that's why I'm very confident. If I had a forecast, I would say this whole area here, 4 to 8 inches, is likely. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Well, let's hold off on the accuracy here, Bermani. We gotta see this one through. This could be listen. Anytime you go out on the grain, it can always be bad. It can always be bad when you go against the grain. It is not. It is never always that good. But we'll find out. It's not fun. Like I know you guys think you see these and like, oh, that's awesome. For me, this is not fun. This is when I have to go against the grain. It is a little bit more stressful than I want it to be. It's a very high risk, high reward situation. But if I think something, if I feel something in my gut and how I see it, the forecast, if I didn't see it at all, I would not forecast it. Um, so I try to do my best to highlight why I think is going to happen. I try to have concrete stuff. And again, ratios a little less down here, but where you lack in temperatures, you make up in lift further southeast here. All these areas here. These are where the best where the best banding will be. Maybe it extends, it's not impossible, it extends further north, but the best banding will be here. This is not, these will not be heavy snows. It will not be. It will be light snows. Light snows. But the aggregates of the snowflakes will be rather impressive. Or there could be some where it's, some aggregates are like not as and then some aggregates are, they're pretty good actually, some of these. Let's see, do we have any more X? All right, not missing any X. I'm 30 minutes north and west of George Washington Bridge in New Jersey. You like 3 to 6, hard to see with the color difference. Well, I feather it a little bit just to give me a little bit of leeway here. I don't try to take it off I don't try to take all the pressure off, but I try to make it just a little bit to show that there's some uncertainty, is what I like to show. It's not a perfect cut and dry. Will there be a combination of ratios and heavy banding in any place? Well, the places I highlighted for the potential for 6+ here in these places, I guess that's really what I could have done, actually. I could have just done 6+. Then I really would have looked a lot better, but we went specific. So, hey, what you gonna do? Waltham, I'm gonna say 3 to 6, and then but you do have a 6+ ceiling here with this system. But I'm gonna say floor 1 to 3, floor 1 to 3. Middle range 3 to 6, ceiling 6+, as we highlighted here. What do I think about the Cape? I think the Cape, yes. The Cape, because they have the most margin for error with the ocean enhance, and they will also have the best lift as well. They will have the best lift. I was looking at it as well on some of those soundings. That it will be fantastic. Be fantastic. So these areas here are best in line. And then it's this is my biggest. This is my biggest. This is my biggest. How long How long does coastal enhancement last here? That's my biggest thing. This right here, you see how the color's kind of messed up? It's because I couldn't get it perfectly right. So that's kind of more like 2 to 5-ish, and we'll see. Again, it's ratio based. I might get ratioed after on the ratios, but we'll find out after. Um, I've done this before, and it's worked out. Um, I've actually really never had too many unsuccessful of the mid of these middies. I really haven't, and I'm not just saying that to blow smoke. I've tend to do well with some of these, which only means we're due to mess up one of these at some point. Lower Hudson Valley. I mean, we're talking closer to Poughkeepsie, or are we talking, well south? Are we talking deep into the Hudson Valley here, like towards Rockland and stuff like that? Westchester. Because here, I would say, I would say this area is about 2 to 5-ish. A lot of this area here. And then this is such a close call. This could be a really tight gradient. This is a big bust potential here. This is a really big bust potential. Really big bust potential. And not in a good way. Actually, it could be high risk, high reward there. And then New York City, I would say about 4 to 8 is what I would forecast for New York City. It will start filling in over the next several hours here, pretty easily. And look to see where the snow shield. Look to see how far the snow shield makes it as well. Even if it's some Virga, the farther north and west that makes it, the longer it has to make it to here. So keep that in mind. Same thing, a lot of these areas here, I would forecast it would be around 4 to 8, to be honest. A lot of these areas, I would be forecasting about 4 to 8, and then you have some locally higher potential in these places. Same with Long Island. Again, it's not Long Island. It's Long Island. It's all in. Would you take the over under 3 inches? Central Park is those readings are all. Those New York City readings are always fishy. I feel like you always see someone somewhere in the city measure like 7, and then the officials measure like 5. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me looking at it. But I would take the over. I would. Would I be shocked if it was like 2.8? No, but I just think there's going to be a good enough combination, especially on the south side. Going to spots like Brooklyn. Same as you go more towards Newark, back into Trenton as well. Start moving into Eastern PA, Philly. This might finally be your bet. This is your best chance maybe for 6+ in a minute. Would I forecast 6+ explicitly? No. But I would say 4 to 8 in Philly. Again, a lot of these will get misinterpreted. That's fine. I'll deal with if it doesn't verify at all whatsoever. I'll deal. Actually, I'm not probably going to deal with it at all. Do I measure on a snowboard? Yeah. Oh, you're asking somebody else. Hello, Hidden Mega. Biggest bus zone in New Jersey? Far southeastern New Jersey and northern Jersey. Because if your temperatures are not good enough in the lower part of the column, and you lose some to mixing, but you still would get, I think you would still get like 2 to 4 here. But here, that's your biggest bust potential in North Jersey. Again, it's not a major snowstorm here, but this is going to help. Like we said, December, DC. I'm sure there'll be someone that has curious about that. This is going to be a little broader, but I would go 1 to 4 in DC. I know that's a little broad of a range for that area, but that's kind of where I would lean at this point. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be tricky to get into the best of the best in DC, but I think just northeast, as you get into Baltimore, I think that's where a lot of your better potential is once you get into northeast Maryland. Maybe this extends back a little bit. It's not impossible. We'll see. I'm not staying up after this. So I'm going right to sleep. But yeah, it's a tricky forecast. I mean, as we tend to say every time, I feel like. But what could cause this to bust? Hit the lower end of the snowfall forecast is kind of what we talked about. The same thing, days ago. If you don't get enough precip to come in as this is amplifying, everything is in and out much sooner. You're limited in terms of how long your best rates are along this corridor. And then this thing slides out, and you don't have enough time to get much, and there's no coastal enhancement in Eastern Mass either for these places. That's pretty much it right there. That would be your low end of the forecast. We'd be looking at a lot more 1 to 3 and 3 to 6s. A lot more 1 to 3 and 3 to 6s instead of 2 to 5s and 5 to 9s. That's kind of what it would be like. It's tricky. It's tricky here. It can be really fickle, but again, it really just turns into a math game. Is why I have what I have. I'm less concerned about. Now, the math is what could really get you to overperform in some of these places. You're really sitting above. Like if you're sitting 1 to 2 inches per hour, let's say for 3 hours, boy, that's you just found a way to hit your forecast, and now you may have 6 more hours of light snow. And again, part of is I've forecast. I've seen it before. Seen the shebang. A lot of easy an easy thing to do is look at these setups and go, oh man, that's such a fast progressive flow. How are you gonna ever get anything out of that? Well, I just you got to look for the nuances within the forecast. And that's where I try to pride myself in with this stuff. It's where I try to take advantage of where others may overlook potentially, and not because they're not smart or anything, just because they're looking at one perspective, and it's helping them to make the forecast that they're making, not because they're not smart in any way. That's kind of what makes a lot of things frustrating. Cape Cod inches, I would say 4 to 8 on Cape Cod would be my forecast. I would say a floor. You have a floor of about 1 to 3, 2 to 4 inches, and you actually have a ceiling of Cape Cod of 8+ inches. You do on Cape Cod, believe it or not, with this. setup because you could be an extended period of ocean enhanced bands. So keep that in mind. Again, you look at the last system. Listen. You look at it. It was the forecast was weak, 500 millibar vort, and everybody knows I'm a 500 millibar guy. I love me some 500 millibar vort, but that was not what was driving it. Dynamic upper level jet pattern. You had 700 millibar driven, mid level driven there with the juice, with the goods, with the last one, and that's why squeezed out 6 to 12 plus in these interior spots. I know that's hard to see over the map, but yeah, every setup is unique, so you got to try to look at the nuances. You got to try to do your best to figure out, what can do it. And I know it sounds, oh man, analytics, but it really is a math game. You have to look at it. How many hours? I think Tim Kelly posts some good stuff. Actually, he posts these logs here of the model runs, which I don't love specifically, but and it shows QPF per hour, temperature, so you can see basically all the numbers, and you start doing math games here. What you think ratios, amount of QPF. It can start. That's where you can start to get confidence in what your forecast might be. Oh, also, what I want to give a shout out is, I gave you hope. I don't know. Don't again. I can't be any clearer. I am not explicitly forecasting 6 to 10 inches. I am not explicitly forecasting 6 to 9. I know the map is deceiving. It is not the best at showing that. I couldn't find a better way in a short enough time. Well, I kind of sat on it for a little bit, the map, so I could have made some changes if I wanted to, but I don't want to be I just didn't want to do that. So really, a lot of these areas I would be more of a 4 to 8 of a forecast. Really, it's just me highlighting that 6, 7, 8, 9 inches possibly in some of these areas are possible. Really, this whole area is 3 to 6 is really what it is. This whole area is. But within here, these are the best areas. These are the best areas of where I think 6+ inches is possible. That's how this map should be viewed. That's how it was meant to be from the creator himself, who made this. That is why I think what I think. Also, LES is going to be insane here. That is not accurate. But I didn't want to do an LES forecast. Again, I can't be any clearer. I just think ratios are going to be fantastic. You have a minimal dew-point depression. You have almost no lift, but you have some, very little, tiny, poquito. So we're not talking about any heavy rates into these interior places. Nada. We're not talking about heavy rates. Strictly 15 to 20 to 1 plus ratios is what we're talking. So let's point that out. Let's say you get 0.2 inches of QPF here, just east of Springfield. You have 15 to 1 ratios. That's going to be 3 inches of snow. That's a terrible 3, but That'd be 3 inches of snow. Just 0.2 inches of QPF. Almost nothing. Philly? Yeah, I think 48, 4 to 8 was where I would lean in Philly right now. I would lean about 4 to 8. Some double digits out of these places would not shock me. Would not shock me. And it's not a full on winter storm, but I'm not talking widespread. I'm talking some local totals, isolated. Do the short-term models have a harder time with the larger snow ratio? Yes, not just short. All the models do. Yes, thunder snow possible. It is possible. Really good thermodynamics to help create the potential. You get any buoyancy. Um, certainly, certainly the potential for some thunder snow. I don't think that would be. I don't think that would be crazy either to see more if the Cape saw more than Philly. That would not shock me either. I mean, technically, my map is 3 to 6 Philly, but it's highlighting. Do an average. Anywhere you see these, basically take a middle ground. 3, 6, 9, 4.5, 16 to 8. What does that get you? That 4 to 8. More math. That's the idea though. That's the idea. Upslope in very nice ratios here. That could even extend into some of these here. Southbridge, MA. Floor 1 to 3. I would forecast 2 to 5, 3 to 6. And a ceiling of 5 to 6 plus inches. A ceiling of 6 plus. But it's going to be a lot harder to maximize that ceiling in the interior places without more impressive lift. It would take an overly impressive northern that jet core would have to come together really soon when it passes by here. It would have to organize to allow that right entrance streak to give enough time for some of these places to get into it more. And I'm just not forecasting that as of now. Is it a scenario? Yes. I just don't have enough to say that's definitely the most likely thing to forecast. Northern Rhode Island. Hey man, it's your forecast. Mine's just different. That's it. Northern Rhode Island, little bit better. I would lean on the 3 to 6, floor of 1 to 3, ceiling of 6 plus. Ratio should be pretty good here too. Hoping I'm headed home around 9:30 from Kittery, Maine. Well, you might run into a few flakes, maybe. Again, really fluffy, and will compact as well. So keep that in mind. Um, This will compact the next day, so it won't be whatever the QPF is. Will compact to. What I was gonna say is, Euro AI did fantastic with this system, regardless of the specifics. It would take some drastic change in the specifics, but take a look. That's 24 hours ago to now, almost unchanged. I mean, it's a little smoothed out, but it did really well. I mean, it kind of what it shouldn't have gone. It waffled a little bit in that day around that day 3 range, and that when it's 4 to 5 day range, it was fantastic. But um, my trigger to plow is 3, so we'll see. Oh, that could be a close one. That could definitely be a close call. But if you do care about the P-type maps, see it came a little bit back because it was a little off, but then you'll notice that and its ensemble. And the ensemble can overdo the QPF a little bit in the medium to longer range, so keep that in mind. By about 10 to 20% sometimes, roughly, if you want to use a guesstimate, but usually it kind of hones in more in the shorter term. I noticed that with the last system especially, it kind of eliminated that. But again, that kind of just allows you the general idea of, yes, the heaviest precip remains in these areas. Obviously remains in these areas. It's just there's just enough precip in plenty good ratios to still get some back into here. So we may this one of my fears is that front does not that the system does not amplify enough, and there is very limited time, and everything is faster. You think you like how bands are filling in as I lose my voice? So I did not bring a water with me. Yeah, I mean they're doing all right, I guess. Uh, it's really over the next several hours though is when it seems to come in. Boston snowfall. Boston, I would say I'll 3 to 6 ish is what I would lean. You do have a ceiling that is like 7 to 8 plus, in my opinion. Um, I know not many would tell you that as of right now, but with the coastal enhancement here, um, and then your floor in Boston is about 1 to 3. So, regardless, I think you hit 1 to 3. Middle ground, I would say around 3 to 6, and then your higher end is you know 6 plus. But this will be good. A lot of people that are snow deprived in this area are going to cash in. So it's December 13th as well. Take it, right? Take it. Take it and run with it. It's what I said a couple days ago. Take it and run with it. Don't ask questions. If you get 3.5 inches, don't ask questions. Take it. If you get 5, thank God. And tell him he's a beaut. If you get 8, don't ask for anything else. It's December. This is it. this, uh, that's it. So, but no, yeah, just be grateful it's snowing. Snow potential, Foxborough tomorrow. Some snow game potential. I initially thought it was going to start a little bit later. So I thought more snow game potential through here. Maybe I'm losing my voice. Sorry. Maybe New York City. If there's a game, I forget if there's one in MetLife. Maybe there's some light spewing flakes left still. Philly, probably not. I don't know if there's a game in DC or Baltimore. I don't know if the Ravens or Commanders are playing at home or on the road. So, but Foxborough, best shot for a snow game tomorrow. At least snow on the fields at a minimum. All these places likely. So, at least visually, it will be appealing. And then hopefully my Pats can win it out here versus Josh Allen and the Bills. Tough matchup. So yeah, I I think that's probably gonna be about it. I don't think this will be the last stream ever, but in a weird case that it was, no, it's been a pleasure doing this stuff. X, it's TBD. I don't have. I assume Giants were at 1 p.m. against Washington, but if this is it, this is it with the X stuff. But we'll just keep that in mind. That appreciate those that do care. Like the analysis means a lot. We may do terribly with this forecast. We may look very fantastic. To be TBD. So I appreciate all that tuned in, and